Hello, community, and welcome back to the Rise to Her podcast. Recording outside again. It is I've been playing with my camera settings. If you are someone that is an expert at setting up settings, I use a YOLO live camera. So if you're like, Emily, you need to edit this setting or change it to this white balance, please send in your comments because I have no idea. This is something I'm learning and I would love some support. I've looked it up on YouTube. It's a fun thing that I'm playing with, but I'm stoked to be recording outside. I'm currently in my hiking clothes because we are leaving on my 30th birthday road trip. We are driving down the Pacific coast, down into the redwoods. We're going camping for a few nights. We've got a really cute Airbnb, and then we're staying on a farm, celebrating my 30th. I'm feeling really blessed, excited, nervous for this decade, but nervous as in like, oh my God, something big. Like I'm stepping into this new initiation, this new version of myself. And I feel like I've been really deeply preparing for it, especially going through my Saturn return. Wowzers. I mean, truly, if you've been through your Saturn return, wow, it is eye-opening. But more than anything, it's been like, oh, I have been following the signs and the synchronicities. I have been listening to my intuition and following through on what I needed to do. I went and got a reading done, and she was pulling out all of these things from my chart. And she was like, oh, you've already been doing this. So you've already been following what's been present for you. And I offer that to you as like, it doesn't have to be this full on breakdown when you're learning your lessons. If you are following the signs and synchronicities, if you are listening to your intuition, it doesn't have to be this big old blow up to get you to listen. It can be fun. It can be playful. So for whatever you're going through right now, I just encourage you to start trusting yourself a little bit more, knowing that it doesn't all have to be hard. Now, there are hard things in life that are just an aspect of living, of being in the human experience, but not everything has to be hard. We can learn our lessons in a different way. Today's podcast, we are going to talk about support, building community, working with the village archetype, and how this in itself will be a huge critical component for creating a burnout-free existence, burning down the patriarchy, getting outside of this white supremacy individualistic lens, and creating support in your own life. It's something my clients are actively working through right now. How do you create community? How do you ask for help instead of, oh my gosh, I have to figure out this business. I have to hold all of this stress myself. There is something really powerful when we can sit with the village archetype. I have my notes down here. So if you're watching on YouTube, you see me looking at my phone. It's because I have all of my notes written down from the reading. So if you're watching on the YouTube, here is the picture of the card that I did a reading on. Beautiful village archetype card. Okay, let's jump into this. I recently saw something on Instagram. It was like, everyone wants a village, but no one wants to be a villager. And it was talking about how being in a village requires allowing yourself to be inconvenienced. We have almost gone from this 180 perspective of, oh, I have to protect my energy, I have to protect my boundaries, but we're doing it in a way that is cutting off access to having community with other people. We are communal creatures by nature. And when we are in protection mode, we then block out the gifts, the information, the support that is available to us through other people. Because it's like, oh, I have to protect myself. I have to have this boundary. Boundaries have nothing to do with other people and everything to do with yourself. And if you're constantly worried about someone else crossing your boundaries, then you need to look at what about you is allowing these folks into your life, and not in like a blamey way, but really how can you take accountability for the community that you've created up until this point and say, okay, what kind of friends, what kind of community do I need to now look for? Where have I been so focused on keeping the peace, whether that means inside of my home, like, oh, it just needs to look this way, it needs to feel this way, that you're not allowing people to come in. to make it look lived in. I'm laughing because that is a huge thing. My wife always tells me, Emily, it's okay if it looks lived in. I'm like, no, it needs to look great. So it's something I'm doing and working through myself because it is a way that like I feel as if I need to take control. And when we feel like we need to take control, we push people, we push opportunities, situations away that could ultimately be the path that we're looking for, the connection that we're looking for. And it also requires us to be vulnerable, to allow people to see aspects of ourselves that sometimes we feel ashamed of, that we feel like they're going to think differently of us if they find out. So receiving support requires you to be vulnerable, and it requires you to allow people in. That is a critical component, especially as you are building a business, as you are growing in your career, as you are trying to escape this stress cycle that so many of us are living in, is allowing people in to give you support. How did we get away from allowing support? Well, when we are looking at the Industrial Revolution, when we're looking at the building of the Western society, we see that it's being built on the backs of minorities, women, anyone that was not the rich person in charge. When it was the rich person in charge, you can look at their home and you can see that they have wait staff. They have people taking care of their kids. They have all of these options for feeling supported. But then those choices were removed from us, from the working class, because it was, well, I have to go to work to make money to at least put food on the table. And it wasn't, oh, I have the funds, the opportunity to hire someone to come in and take care of my home or take care of my kids or prep the food. It was, I need to do everything, especially as feminine creatures, women, people that identify in the feminine body. That pressure was then put on them, me, us. And so we took it as, well, it's all on me. So it was this big divide of those who have and the have-nots. And so to begin to repeal that conditioning, we have to start seeing where we can allow support into our lives. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you need to have someone come clean your house, cook your meals, take care of your kids, walk your dogs, all of those things, because I recognize that comes from a very privileged point. But I can say, where can we ask for help in your community, your friends? If you're like, Emily, I don't have any friends. Well, then you need to get out and make friends. You can't say, oh, no one wants to support me if you're not putting yourself in a position to be seen. Well, my wife recently went and picked up one of my very dear friend's kids as I was running a fever and took them home. And then we took them on an outing to give my friend a break for the day so that she could sleep in. I think she went and hung out outside and just got rest, rejuvenated, right? It wasn't like, oh yeah, I want to do all of these things. It was, I just need some rest. And so I asked, can I take them off of your hands for the afternoon? And it was yes, right? But saying yes, that in itself is something that is not conditioned into us, especially as we're building businesses and doing things differently. Because it, for me and for so many of my clients, makes us feel weak. And so that is a really awesome place of reflection. Why does asking for help and support make me feel weak? What do I feel like that means about me? How can I start putting myself out there to ask for support? I had a client recently, something expired, and so she just reached out to the person that owned the product and asked for an extension, and the person said yes. And that did a huge boost for her confidence that she can advocate for herself. And it wasn't about the person saying yes or no. It was ultimately about saying, oh, I can still ask for what I need. I don't have to say it can only look this way. I can only feel supported if I have the money to pay for someone to clean my house or to have someone do all the cooking for me. It's how can I use my voice, use my autonomy to ask for support? How can I put myself in situations where I can build community, where I am willing to become a villager? That's another great question to think about is where am I not allowing myself to be inconvenienced so that I can be a villager? Truly, And why won't I allow myself to be inconvenienced? When we get into this individualistic view of creation, of having, we are playing into the patriarchal white supremacy version of capitalism, of I have to have because if not, they're taking from me, right? It's this competition metric that makes us go into protection mode. If you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, this is exactly how I want to run my business, that is your sign to go deeper. Rooted is my monthly membership for entrepreneurs and leaders who are done running their business and their career on empty. Inside, we work with energetic patterns of each season, pull the archetypes, read what's moving, and use all of it to make clearer decisions, reduce the stress that's been quietly draining you, and build towards your vision in a way that actually feels like you and feels deeply connected to source and spirit. Most of us have spent years mastering the strategy and performing really high, the plans, the goals, the hustle. Rooted is the other half. It is the part that makes the strategy work without costing you everything. It's $27 a month and you can try it free for 7 days. Go to risetoher.com/rooted or click the link in the show notes. Come get rooted with us. I'll see you inside. One of Joe Dispenza, I love Joe Dispenza. I know everyone has their opinions, but I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. I think his work on coherence and ability to manifest is superb. His research is awesome. But he was talking about how when we are so focused on the self, on protection, we can't look external to self, right? And because anytime we look external, we see it as a threat. And so that is a huge block for those of us building our businesses, creating these visions, is seeing other folks, other communities, other teachers, other business owners as a threat instead of a place to collaborate. So where can you become inconvenienced? Where can you allow yourself to become seen? Ask for help. Where can you just stand up and do something for someone else? If you're like, how is this going to translate to my business? It is going to make a dramatic impact because you're dismantling the patriarchy within your own systems. If we don't do it within our own systems, how can we expect to dismantle it within our businesses? Because for us, the solar entrepreneurs, the people building these new visions, we are the business. We are the brand. So if you're not doing it inside, you're just perpetuating that as you build, as you grow. Next thing that I wanted to talk about when it came to the village archetype is this idea of emotional boundaries and emotional baggage. Because while we're looking at what is our village doing for us, how can we have a village to help us, we have to recognize that we came from a village. At some point, we came from a village. Our hometown, the family, the environment that we grew up in is a village. And for a lot of us, we have resentment towards that. We have frustration. We have these things that make us want to avoid needing help, being seen, or having those experiences brought up. And that emotional baggage, if not released, just continues to get added to. It keeps piling on because you're like, oh, I'm so tired. I don't have time to do these things, because energetically you're carrying around these stories, these experiences that have led you to then block out any additional support. Because yes, you have probably been hurt by your village. For me, I had, and still am working through it, a lot of resentment for the environment that I grew up in, because when I came out as queer, I lost people that I felt would have been my friends forever. And it's still something that breaks my heart. But it was, what did I learn? What did that allow me to cultivate within myself? The resiliency. What opportunities do I have now because of the way that I grew up? The perspective that not a lot of people have. I'm a Gemini moon and I can see the different realities that other folks are living in. I can truly see and understand it. But where I grew up in rural South Carolina with family that's military, growing up around firearms and hunting, all of those things prepared me to be able to walk into rooms like the suicide prevention research that I'm a part of, for the firearms work that I do, where we're looking at reducing access, where we're looking at preventing deaths, right? It has to be this way or it has to be A or B. It's like it can be both, but how do we work towards an ultimate goal? That's my background in public health, is really taking that holistic approach to what we're doing. And when we get into this idea of moral absolutism of, no, you didn't do that right, so you're a bad person, or you can only show up for me this way, we then block out the support. Again, we make people the bad guy when ultimately we just need to say, this is what I need at this time. And maybe they were doing the best that they can. This can be a really triggering conversation. My dog is digging a hole behind me right now. So if you're on YouTube, you can maybe see her going crazy right now. I am now. My pit bull just left it. But this can be a very triggering conversation, because this is not me saying that you need to get over what happened to you. Not at all. It's saying, how can I acknowledge what happened and say, oh, I wish it would have been like this. Now, how can I create in a different way moving forward? How can I alchemize that experience, feel the feeling so deeply without responding from emotion, and just feel it, be in it, say, dang, that sucks. Now, how do I want to show up differently? Why do I want to show up differently? What will that mean? So that you can allow that baggage to become part of a story that makes you more and more resilient, and allowing you to show up in a more full way, instead of saying, I need to do this all by myself. Because at the end of the day, only you are setting the tone for how you are respected now that you are an adult. If people are not going to respect you, simply walk away. And I say simply, but not like it's easy. But respect also has to do with how you are respecting yourself. And if you're putting pressure on yourself to show up and do it all, you are not respecting yourself. You're perpetuating the story of when you've been hurt, and it's not serving you now. It's adding to the baggage. It's making it feel so heavy, like building this business. Creating this new story is, oh, I've got to do it all by myself. There are so many people that are going through the same thing as you. Reach out and find them. That's why we have rooted this incredible group of leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives who are building businesses and brands that are outside of burnout cycles, that are working with natural rhythms, that are learning energetic mastery so that they can build without burnout, so they can be connected to Mother Nature, so they can go back to the ancient principles of ritual and respect and creativity and connection. That is what we do inside of Rooted. It's not just this membership where you have access to an online portal. Yes, you have that. And yeah, it's badass, but it is also a community. You need to be in community, whether Rooted or another one. You need to find a community where you can connect with people, because people will say entrepreneurship is so lonely. It is if you don't reach out for help, if you don't put yourself in positions to receive the support, to ask for help. Because when you create your own home, just like that home that you grew up in, it can feel like comfort, but comfort only keeps you stuck. We need to put ourselves in positions that are inconvenient, that are uncomfortable, that are saying, I will put myself out there for you because I know you will do it for me. And I want to create an economy in which we can support each other and have mutual aid. And that is how we build businesses, systems, and structures that burn down the patriarchy, that say we're done with this individualistic perspective. Because when we can be inconvenienced, we can allow our capacity to expand. When we allow our capacity to expand, we then allow in more. We're able to be in rhythm with nature, with the signs, with the synchronicities that are available to us, because we're not so focused on protection mode. We then get to look and say, how can I play? How can I be? How can I have fun? Comfort will only keep you stuck. Staying home, whatever home is, and I mean that in like I need to protect my way. I need to protect myself. I need to protect my peace, right? That perspective will keep you stuck and uncomfortable, because that is saying that anytime I let anything in It's taking away my peace. And that's a really uncomfortable way to be, and it does not allow you to grow your business and your dream. If you can't allow anything in, you're keeping everything that you want out. So this week, I want you to look at how you can connect with the village archetype. Where are you not allowing people in because you're so afraid of your peace being taken? How can you create rituals? How can you create structures and systems that allow you to have internal peace so that you can show up externally? If you don't have a ritual, or you're like, I just feel so exhausted all the time, my energy is always leaking, we just released a brand new workshop inside of Rooted called Calm the Fuck Down. It is 5 days for understanding your energetic leaks, resetting the stress cycle, and creating your first ritual that you can start and use every single week so you can create a ritualized way of being, complete your stress cycle so that you can show up with more awareness, more creativity, more connection, and create a really balanced, beautiful life and handle the hard shit, because the hard shit will come. You just have to create the systems and structures that allow you to receive the intuition and put it in a funnel, put it in a place that allows it to grow. The village archetype is really special to me. It's something that I am continually refining, continuing to sit with the inconvenience of being a villager and saying, wow, I'm so grateful for it. And I want that for you too. All right. I'll see you here next week on the Rise to Her podcast. Bye for now. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, reflecting, and rising into more of who you really are. If this episode sparked something inside of you or reminded you you're not alone, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. To keep the conversation going, come hang out with me on Instagram at Rise to Her. I always love hearing what's resonating for you. And if you're craving a space to explore intuitive, soul-led living with others who get it, our community is growing and you're always welcome. Until next time, trust yourself, honor your rhythm, and keep rising.